Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to, as Jay says in the comments, another Motion Monday, Maxon Motion Monday. So thank you for that, Jay. And also hi to Bern, Hannah, Marcelo, and Amy, and Enno. Oh, we've gone for the hello to everyone before we've said hello ourselves. So it's reverse time.
I know who we are.
So greeting, I'm Simon. I'm delighted to have Elly and Anna and Dustin and Chad on again. Hi, everyone.
Hey,
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
And this is week 2, as you can see on the screen here, for our very innovatively and creatively titled Sculpt Model Render in Composite, because, you know, it does what it says on the tin. So this week we're taking Anna's amazing Sculpt, and Elly's going to jump in and create an environment for it and just all sorts of things, how you would work in a typical workflow if you're working, say, with other artists and you're trying to build things within a certain time frame. And this week we've given you, Elly, the deadline of, was it 57 minutes now?
Can't wait.
See, the idea about these things is to, I know we're accelerating the timeline for this, but to give it as many tips as we can for generally working, what's a good working practice for these things, and also what do you do if you've got to create something quickly. So follow us along with this, and please throw in questions as you've got them as we progress this week. And just very quickly, it behooves me to mention some other amazing sessions that we've got coming up. So Elly is back on Wednesday to do part 2 of our hands-on with Maxon Level Up with Cinema 4D. What are you doing this week in this, Elly?
So the topic is volumes. So volume builder and mesher, and then rendering like fog volumes inside of Redshift, because we're trying to incorporate a little bit of Redshift each and every week, and then adding detail to kind of fog, clouds, all of that fun stuff, with practically building a lightsaber, of course, because why not?
Of course. That's quite an interesting choice to use volumes to make that. So that I'm looking forward to seeing how you do that.
Yeah, should be good. Good fun.
Should be good. And as well as the sessions we run, we also put on links to things like the Forward Festival, and also the Take Yourself to the New Dimension on Thursday. There's a certain thing on Thursday that is also happening. Elly, this is the Elly week, isn't it? What's that thing on Thursday that's happening?
So I am doing a workshop with the guys at School of Motion, and the idea is for anyone who has never really touched Cinema 4D or 3D before, and we're going to be working in C4D Lite, which is free inside of After Effects, and just starting to incorporate 3D into our workflow without being kind of daunted by such an overwhelming 3D package.
Excellent, good stuff.
I want to go to that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
We're keeping you busy this week, Elly, for sure.
Yes.
And also on Thursday, don't forget to check in with Max's show, Max on Color. This week, he's got an amazing artist who also happens to work for Red Giant in the QA department. And Alexandru is constantly amazing us with his designs. Fury is his online name, and you can find out links about him if you go and click on this link, the one for Max on Color on Thursday. And we and Max and Alexandra are going to investigate some amazing techniques for motion graphics and the color related to those. So it's going to be a really exciting creative session. And one quick thing, as usual, you can watch all the recordings here because you're here already, so you know where to go for these things. So just jump onto the Maxon Training Team YouTube channel, and then you can see the recordings. And you can also download project files, because many of the descriptions have the link for downloading project files. And for this series, here's a reminder of the links. If you go to the handout section of the webinar software, then you can see where to download the project files. And this includes, for this series, the project files that Anna uploaded for the Sculpt that she's been creating. So thank you for that, Anna. And then that's over to you, Elly, really, I think, because I've used up enough of your time for everything.
Yep, that is cool.
And we'll talk more about the shirts a bit later on. Some of you already got a shirt, so there's more detail in that PDF too. But if you need the link again, please ask in the questions and we'll give that to you.
Cool. Are you throwing it to me or am I stealing it?
I'll throw it to you. Here we go.
Cool. Let's do this.
Right, you should have it now.
Oh. Hey, there we go.
Oh, there we go.
Limbo.
Can you guys
Here we
see
go.
that? Took a little bit of time. I was thinking about it. Cool. Hey everyone, how's it going? So yeah, I'm really excited for this week, where I'm going to be hopefully doing Anna's Kraken sculpt justice and creating a environment inside of Cinema 4D. Before I get into it, I'm going to show you how we're actually going to get the model from ZBrush into Cinema 4D using something called GoZ, and it's really, really simple. So if I just head over to ZBrush,
Sorry, Ellie. Whilst you're doing that, Ryan's got an excellent question straight off the bat about this. And it's actually a question for Anna. So whether this is the right time now, Anna, to share this, or whether you want to fit it in as Ellie's doing her stuff, but is asking to briefly share the best practice for preparing the ZBrush file for cinema so the materials, paint, displacement, and UVs come in correctly.
So I was actually going to confirm this workflow with Ellie once I do have textures, but I believe the workflow that I can normally use for games is going to be compatible, which is to UV the model and then bring the textures in as 2D textures. Is that correct?
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd work.
That would be cool. So that's what I would do to prepare this model for cinema. And really most other software is I would make sure that it's UV'd, which is basically just a 2D projection of the model that can receive 2D textures on top, then texture it either in ZBrush or whatever other texturing software you enjoy, and then import that into Cinema.
Cool. I suppose we can even show and talk more about that in next week's session.
I'll try to get that far.
Yeah, because that's when we'll then be diving into Redshift for kind of for everyone else's sake. This is Cinema 4D, building the environment today, and then next week is going to be lighting and texturing inside of Redshift. So that could be a good topic to start with next week, how we kind of get those textures and then bring them in cinema.
Also, I love what you did with the model, Anna, the extra stuff that you did. It's really cool.
So this is, Anna's been working on this model, and as we can see, it's got its body, its arms, its legs, everything. I'm super excited to be working with this today. So yeah, how do we get this into cinema? So there is a plugin called GoZ inside of ZBrush, and we can find it up here. So we have the ability to GoZ some of our tools. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to press the All button. As we can see here, it's going to export all our subtools to GoZ. And the first time you do this, it's going to ask you the application you want to connect it to. So I've already done this. So mine's automatically going to send it over to Cinema 4D. But if you have like Maya, or I think there's also like 3ds Max, there's a bunch of other like 3D applications it can go to. All you have to do is just set that up for the first time. So I'm going to hit the All button, and then very, very quickly, it's come straight into Cinema. And now we have this really awesome model in here and our different elements as well, which is cool. So yeah, that is how we would get it from ZBrush into Cinema. It's as simple as that. And yeah, that's all we need to do. So from here, I'm just going to start to build up an environment. I'm not really sure where I'm going to go. Like, I've got a bit of an idea. I'm liking the idea of it's going to be an underwater scene because it's a Kraken. It was suggested last week, underwater scene. And so that's kind of where I'm going. And I'm thinking like maybe some ruins and stuff like that. And before I get into actually creating stuff, kit bashing models is something that I think is really great. And for me, I've got like a 50-minute timeline to hopefully build a really cool environment. And so last week, I spent a couple of hours trying to find some models that, one, are free that I can distribute to you guys, and two, are going to help me. They're going to be like metaphorical Lego pieces for today's session. And I'm going to put a bunch of them together and hopefully create a really cool environment. And so I've got like a Word document with like all of the models that I looked at, as well as the credits for them, because that's the whole deal with the license, you have the credit. And I've even created a C4D file with them all in. It's titled something. Here we go. C4D models. I'm just going to let this open up.
Ooh.
Yeah. These are some models that, yeah, totally free to download, free to use. A couple of them are like non-commercial use. So bear in mind if you are going to use them, be aware of that. And they all require crediting. So I'm going to make sure that I credit these relevant people. But they are pretty great models. As we can see, we've got a bunch of different like coral elements. Let me just turn off my work plane. We have some different like coral elements here, which are going to work. We've got some ruins, and we've got these like this like temple ruins under here. And I'm thinking, I'm already starting to get a bit of an idea of the kind of thing we're going to create. And so we're going to see how we can use these as well as STL files and, you know, build up an environment. And we've got our little like Poseidon face here, and I've already got an idea for this. So I'm just going to start up with a whole new scene. And I might, do I want to change my, I might change my output, because are we wanting like Instagram sort of output? So Anna, I know this is maybe going to be ending up somewhere on socials. Are we looking for Instagram, or are we looking for like 16:9?
Oh gosh, good question. So I think TikTok would be the best final place.
Okay.
But whenever I do my renders for TikTok, I usually just make them whatever size I want, and then just kind of crop it or like zoom in, you know?
Okay. All right. I'll leave it. I guess I'll leave it like 16:9 for now, and then we can always look at like different outputs like later on.
Got a quick question for you, Elly. Ryan's asking about the poly count, and this will be something near and dear to Dustin's heart, about the number of polys in a scene to then do live and create stuff for. But did you have to make any adjustment for that? Yeah,
so this is a really this is an important topic, especially when putting like high poly models all together. These are all pretty high poly. If I show my lines, I mean, the fact you can't see them implies it's very, very high. As we come in here, you can see they're really high poly models, but I've got a bunch of them in here and everything is working like absolutely fine. We could use the remesh in here, and we could remesh them and decrease our mesh density if we want to. Let's see what happens. I think it should be okay. Famous last words, as Dustin experienced on one of our last sessions. But I'm going to try everything else I create. I'm going to try keep as low poly as possible while I'm working, and then maybe go high poly a bit later on. But yeah, we can use the new like Z remesher in the remesh to reduce our mesh density if we want to, if we find that they're too high poly models for working inside of cinema. But for me, like, I guess we'll see if that happens, and then we may have to do that as we're working. But fingers crossed it doesn't happen.
I think you'll be okay.
I think we should be okay. Cool. So straight off the bat, I'm going to start off with like a landscape terrain. I always find it's easier to work from like the base, and then I'm going to build it up. And so I'm thinking it's going to end up being like some sandy terrain. But, you know, as we said, we're not going to be worried about textures or materials today. So it may not look like too much of an underwater environment until next week, but hopefully we can still make something pretty cool.
Got a quick other question, Elly. We've had a request already for that list of files you had in the Word document.
Okay, yeah.
Is that something
I can get them? Is it something I could do right now? Yeah.
If not, we can wait and we can put that into the download folder or the upload folder.
Hang on, let me drop it into here. Soz, everyone, one sec.
Sorry, Ellie. The last thing you need when you're under the clock is extra admin.
Hey, it's cool. Let's just give me 40 minutes. It's fine. Right.
If we were a proper client, we'd halve the time halfway through anyway.
No, that's cool. If I put them in our chat, can someone put them somewhere?
I can organize that for you, yes.
Cool, yeah. So these are all the links I'm using, as well as the crediting things. And just double check. So all of these I've made sure are okay to be shared. But some of them do have like a non-commercial license, and so bear that in mind if you are using them. I'm able to use them because this is just like a live session. But yeah, always make sure you double check with these models, because it's great that these artists create such amazing stuff, and it's great that they give it to us for free to download. So yeah, read the licensing just to make sure we're abiding by the rules, and credit them because they're incredible artists that mean I don't have to model things, which that's great.
Yes.
So yeah, that's in there now. Cool. Back to building my terrain. I'm just going to go like 4,000 by 4,000, and we can really easily create a landscape using a plane and using a displacer deformer, a method that a lot of us who have used Cinema have probably done before. So if I come into my deformers, I can grab a displacer, and all I need to do is make it a child of my plane. Simple as that. Nothing's going to happen straight away, and that's because we need to define some kind of like displacement map. And there's a couple ways we can do that. We can use a noise inside the shader. I've actually got some texture maps that I've paid for. So for anyone who doesn't know Josh Pierce, he is probably one of my favorite Cinema 4D artists, and he actually has his own like packs and stuff, and I've bought some. So I'm going to use one of those. I know normally I don't use assets that I paid for, but you can do this same thing using noises. But I just thought I would try and make a really detailed thing.
Josh Pierce had packs of things.
Yes, Josh. So this is what I'm looking at now. Let me just actually go to gallery. So these are like the displacement maps he does. It's going to take like a sec to load, and they are very, very cool. So we can use these inside of our displacer, and the easiest way to think about it is the black areas are going to basically go down, and the white areas are going to go up. Easiest way to think about these. So cool. How do we kind of connect these things together? So inside of our displacer, we need to drop in one of these files. And so for me, I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to go with this one here. I think that would be pretty cool. So let me just drop that into my shader. And it's going to say, do you want to create a path? No, not fussed about that. Cool, so that's now in there. And at the moment, we can't really see anything. And that's for a whole bunch of reasons. So the first reason is we don't really have a lot of height scale going on. So I'm just going to change to intensity. Let me just sort of go like 200. So we're seeing some displacement, but we're not really seeing a lot of detail. And the way of getting detail in is inside of our plane. We just add some width and height segments. And so I think maybe we'll go like 200 and 200. And I know some of you may be like screaming, Elly, why aren't you doing this inside of Redshift, which we can do. But I want to displace my physical geometry, and I also want to stick to only doing Cinema 4D today. So no Redshift for me. Cool, so we're starting to see some displacement going on. But let me just click onto this texture here, and we can actually change some of these properties. And I'm just going to change my color profile to sRGB. And if you watch the little thumbnail preview, it's going to make like our blacks darker. And so we get these really nice this really nice contrast and these exaggerated areas. And we now have these flat areas as well, which I kind of want, because I can start to put some models there. Sweet. So we have like a bit of a landscape going on. And we can add more, so we can add more segments, but there's a really quick way of adding more detail, and that's just using like a subdivision surface. So if I just grab a subdivision surface here and drop my plane into here, actually let me turn it off first and let's do my shading lines. So this is where we can see the polygon count. So just in display, shading lines. And if I switch my subdivision surface on, we can now see we have a load more detail. But what it's doing, if we come a bit closer, it is adding more detail, but it's kind of smoothing everything out. And there is a really handy trick. So this is going by the order of process inside of the Objects Manager. So in some instances inside of Cinema 4D, the order in which the objects are is what we call the order of process, and that can change and we can get different results. And I can just sort of I can just do that by pulling our displacer sort of out. And so now we're still getting our displacement, but our subdivision surface is subdividing our plane, and then our displacer is displacing our plane. So we're not getting those kind of smooth areas of our displacer. So yeah, order of process. And now we have quite a nice, like detailed looking terrain. And this, so going back to like the question of the high poly count, what I may do, and what I probably will do now, is I'm actually going to switch off my subdivision surface, because I don't necessarily need to see that level of detail right now. I'm not too fussed about seeing it until when it comes to like rendering and texturing and things like that. So I can actually just switch my subdivision surface off. Or we could even just reduce our subdivision editor amounts as well.
Hey, Elly, I have a
Cool.
question.
Yeah.
It looks like adding the subdivision surface basically did the same thing as just adding geometry to the plane. So are you doing this workflow so that you can like, it's more flexible? You could just like add and
So
take away resolution. Okay, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that's one reason why I like to do it, is it's like a really simple kind of like activate and deactivate of that. But yeah, you could just increase these segments in here as well. Would do like a similar kind of thing. But what's nice about this is I can still then come into here and up these and get even more detail. So do we want to do this? So we could like up it even more, and hopefully you guys can see that's now added even more detail. And so we have like some nice control.
Fantastic, thank you.
No worries. Let me just put that back down and yeah, switch that off. And yeah, so these are some of the models that I've sort of had a look at online and just sort of put them into this .c4d file for me to access. And I'm really liking like these ruins here, because I want to create like almost like, I don't know, maybe a bit of like a spooky ruined city, and then we're gonna have like our big Kraken just like there looking scary and massive. I think that's what we want. We want spooky, right? We don't want like this happy little like, hey everyone.
Yeah, I think spooky is wonderful. Yeah.
I'm thinking of putting like skulls and skeletons around. Is that weird?
I am all for that, actually. The spookier the better for me.
Let's do spooky. Cool. So I'm just going to copy this over and I'm going to paste this in here. And what I might do, I'm going to put this in like this flat area. So I'm already sort of thinking about my composition and perhaps the look that we're going to go for, and like the angle that we're going to position our camera and etc. All things that are going to be coming later on or next week.
I'm really curious as to how you're going to navigate the scale problem, since the Kraken, I imagine, is going to be pretty big in the scene.
I think so.
It adds complexity to the composition situation. Can't wait to see.
Yeah, I'm hoping this like scaling it down might work.
We'll just have a really large Kraken. I mean,
I think it needs. Yeah, he needs to be big. Is he a he? Is he now? I think he's got to be like massive, right? Because then it's going to be like super scary. Right, so let me see how we're looking. So this can be, what I love about working with like this like landscape as well, because it's going to be like sand and underwater, I can just drop my model into it because it's going to give that impression that the sand's pushed up against it. Hack. Cool, let me just scale this down because I want this. I'm going to give the impression that my terrain is like massive or my landscape is pretty big. So I want this to be like smaller. Cool, so we have this going on. So I'm thinking something like, maybe like this sort of look. Maybe something like that. Let's see how big this guy is. We need like a suggestions in like the questions area of like this dude's name. I think does he want to have a name? I think he should have a name.
He should have a name. Yeah.
I think he should have a name. He's already a guy, so I've already called that.
I mean, like a nickname, if nothing else, like some sailors call them, you know, and they tell fellow sailors to look out for, look out for, whatever, Joe McCracken.
I don't know why the name Gertrude keeps coming up in my brain.
Well, we have names coming in the chat here. Sue, let's see, Fred, Bob.
Fred Bob.
Or
is Fred Bob one, or was it, or was that two different ones?
Well, there's quite a few. We've got KarlTheKraken.
Okay, I think I quite like KarlTheKraken. I'm just looking like size-wise. So this is a strange question. And I don't think it would matter. Me just scaling down the model that's coming from ZBrush, that's not going to have an impact on anything necessarily, is it?
So the only impact I can think of is when we re-import. I don't know how Cinema 4D maintains the scale, so if you re-import it, well, you have to scale it down. That's the only thing I can think of. Otherwise, it should be fine.
Yeah, and since you're scaling it down using a null is a really good idea. I actually ran into this recently. So the way that I like to do, just in case there are any problems, is I'll scale it down the way that you are. And then when I come to importing again, I'll just use the first as reference if it's needed. And there are times where I'll throw a cube in, like inside of that null, and scale it to the scale of the character, just to make sure I'm covering bases. Yeah, I've had kind of mixed results back and forth, but if you scale down the pieces individually, all of the individual models, you can run into issues when it comes to displacement and different things because you're scaling things out of context. So just keep that in mind, but you've already got the right idea by knowing it. And
oh, cool. That's just nice. Let me quickly save this because I'm like notorious for not saving. Such an autosave, people, tip that I obviously don't do. Kraken invite. No, I'll just do that. Kraken envy. So what have we gone with? Is it Karl? I should have typed Karl.
I'm okay with Karl.
Yeah, yeah, Karl works. I think it's awesome.
Oh, hang on, should we do Karl with a K then, just so it's like suitable?
Yeah.
Bit of alliteration there. Here we go.
So Joel's asking, wouldn't you use an instance and scale the instance instead? Yes, that's definitely a viable option there as well. No one way to do any single task, but that's actually a really good way to do it there as well. Instancing is great.
Yeah, that is another great idea. So another quick thing. So on this link is a couple of STL files from a website. Let me just pull this over, called My Mini Factory. And basically what it has is a bunch of artists who have done like photogrammetry scans of real places in the world. they upload like STL files that are free for you to then download. And for anyone who doesn't know, when you drop an STL file into Cinema 4D, it turns it into like the 3D model of that. And so I was having a little look around of some cool things, and I was thinking maybe like looking through like a ruined archway to see like the scary Kraken might work quite cool. So I found this one, and I think I've already downloaded it. So I just wanted to pull that over to show you guys. And so I think I've already downloaded it. Let me find my downloads. Here we go. Pull that in. Scale, yeah, that's fine. We can always scale it down if we need to. Cool, so we have this. It's just like a 3D model of that particular photogrammetry, and that was from Scan the World. That's like the credit for those guys. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn this into almost like some more like I'm going to add some more like ruined detail to it, and I'm also going to combine the Poseidon head. I'm going to put that like here so it looks more like, what is it? Is it Atlantis? Kind of vibe?
Atlantis. Yeah.
Cool. So let's do that. So I'm going to copy that over. I'm going to paste that in here, and we're going to find that. So yeah, these are just sort of like some tips if you were using like models in your kit bashing, which is like what so many people do. Like, so before I did 3D, I messed with Photoshop a bit. Definitely not to Dustin's level. Like, he absolutely puts me to shame. But I used to love like the photo manipulation and sort of like comping loads of different things together, mainly because I wasn't good enough to actually like create these things myself. So I just I wasn't a very good artist, so I'd put all this stuff together. And I'm kind of doing that same technique now, but with 3D. So instead of taking like photographs and editing those together in Photoshop, I'm taking models and I'm creating new models with them inside of Cinema 4D. And I love that workflow. I think, especially when you haven't got a lot of time, like, goodness me, I've just noticed that it's already half past. So yeah, when you haven't got a lot of time, doing things like this is great. And then it's nice because you almost then are creating new models with these existing ones, and yeah, remixing it a little bit. So that's what we're going to do with this. So I'm just going to reposition this a little bit. So it's gonna, so we've hidden our little, what was a little like strange baby face, and we now have Poseidon's face, which I think goes a little bit more perhaps with the style that we're creating. Cool, yeah. So I've just done it like this so far, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to shove it inside of a volume builder, and it's going to basically merge our meshes together. So the way that we do that, we grab a volume builder, and I'm just going to grab my two sort of models here and drop it into my volume builder, and it's going to think about it, and it's going to go all disgusting and not very nice. And that's because of my voxel size. So what the volume builder is doing is it's converting my geometry, my mesh, into what we call voxels. And the higher the voxel size, the lower the resolution. So we can get some more detail back by dropping this voxel size. So as you can see, 1 centimeter isn't really working. So let's go 0.5, and then we can get some of that detail back. And then what we need to do, we need to convert this into actual mesh, into like actual geometry. And the way that we do that, we use the volume builder's PAL volume mesher. And so now what we have is we actually have a model that has combined these two together. And then we have like different modes. For me, union's working fine. Basically, it's just merging these two objects together. Perfect. Easy way of modeling. But you do have subtract, we do have intersect. And so dependent on the kind of style that you're creating, you can drop more and more models in. But for me, this is going to be fine. Let me just go 0.2. So I'm going to have a lower res, and it's going to be nice and detailed. Cool. So the next thing I want to do is I want to add a little bit more detail. I want to kind of like remove some of the areas and make it look like it's, what's the word? Like, you know, old and dated, stuff like that. And so we can do that by using a random field. And we can drop our random field into our volume builder. And we're going to put it on the top. And we just need to change it to objects below. And hopefully you guys,
Wow.
we now have a bit more detail.
That looks so cool.
What we can do, we can actually change this now and make it even better. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm actually going to change my mode to subtract. So it takes that geometry and takes that mesh away. And then in the random field, we have access to all of the noises that we have inside of Cinema 4D. So if anyone's worked inside of cinema, you know there is so many cool noises. And I think the one I'm going to go with is Luca. Okay, cool. Yeah, so we've got this kind of like mesh, dissolved mesh going on. And I'm just going to scale it up just so we have some slightly large areas. And so now, with just like a couple of little like tricks and techniques, we've taken what was two separate models. One was an STL and one was like a Sketchfab model. We've combined them and merged them inside the volume builder and created like one mesh. And then we added some of extra little detail. And so now what we've done is we've created an entirely new model that is, you know, based on these other models, but it's like a new one. It's like a different one. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to send just this like a version of this over to our other scene. And so on my volume mesher, I'm going to right click and go current state to object. And now I have just a polygonal version of it. So I don't have to worry about bringing all this stuff in. So let me copy that, come over to our environment and see where this guy has gone. Okay, so size-wise, what are we thinking? What are we thinking? Maybe a little bit bigger? Let's get this dude in here. And like I'm thinking if we can have like be sort of like semi-looking through it, would that be cool?
Ooh, yeah.
Could be like, maybe we need to, might need to adjust my camera a little bit. I don't want to be too much bigger. Right, let's go like this.
You're kind of like just forcing perspective now, which is really nice. I like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of maybe I'll change it, but I mean it's okay. It's okay for now. I don't want to like limit myself too much. Like I'm more than happy to change a whole bunch of this stuff if it doesn't really work. Cool. So from here, I'm thinking we need it to look more underwater, like underwatery. We go with that. So I'm just going to add a whole bunch of these like coral landscape things. I think this is going to help sell it. It's going to help sell it before we get to, you know, adding our lighting and our materials, which are going to help make it look even more like an underwater kind of scene. So I'm just going to copy a bunch of these, and maybe I'll just. So this is like a, I don't know why I do this. It's like a silly trick that I do, and it's definitely not like a workflow that people should necessarily do. But when I find an angle that I like to just drop in a camera. It's just something that it's just a habit I've got into, just so I can see like the different angles that I've already kind of looked at. Doesn't mean I'm going to stick with them. Doesn't mean they'll be the final ones. It just saves me having to keep going back. Cool, so let me paste this in here and let's just find like a cool looking thing. So let's get it so it comes up to here perhaps. And then maybe come down a little. So I'm not too fussed about these edges because I don't know if they'll be seen like eventually. Or maybe they will be seen eventually. Something sort of like that. Maybe even rotate it a little. Cool. So yeah, I think this is going to help kind of add to the effect of like an underwater scene. Right. What else? Let's just throw a whole load of these in. if anyone has any suggestions as well, feel free to just shout at me. All I'm doing is re-narrating what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, you're pretty much doing things, I mean, similar to how I do it. So I don't know if there's really any any insight to give. I mean, I think the only difference is that I actually, and maybe it's just because I'm lazy, I set up my camera first and then I build the composition based off of that camera angle. But that's also a little bit different maybe than, you know, how some work. But I also work on primarily stills. And so it's very easy to not have to worry about, you know, a full-ish environment. But yeah, I mean, I like everything. I think the coral's really cool. Like that's gonna add a lot once you get the shading.
By them, considering they were like pre-3D models on Sketchfab.
Yeah.
Like they're definitely, yeah, because to model that, I mean, I don't think I'd be able to do this same kind of thing in an hour if I didn't have these sort of models. So I'm just gonna throw in some of this stuff in the background because yeah, my idea, like I totally agree with you, Justin. Normally I would probably set up a camera first and build everything from there, but because I'm not sure of like necessarily the final output, whether we want to do like 16:9 version or we do like the TikTok or like IG Reel version, I'm hoping I can then just like move a couple of elements around at the end once we set that up. But
totally,
like all the stuff at the back, like it's not going to be seen, so who cares? That's the vibe I go for. If it's not seen, it doesn't need to be there. Cool. So I might grab some of these like smaller ones and get them on the front here, like in front of this kind of thing.
I think what might be pretty cool by the end of it is if we could send off I guess what I would consider like the subject's plate or the ruins to Anna for the final sculpt, and she can pose the Kraken like around gripping the top of the ruins and different stuff. Like I think it'd be really cool. Like that
sounds amazing.
Yeah, I was gonna suggest that too.
That would be very cool. See, like I've done that thing now where I've been in my camera and I've moved around. Hey, never mind. Never mind. What not to do in Cinema 4D with Elly. So it is starting to like slow down a little bit now. It's starting to like lag a little. So I'm trying to think if I can.
Isn't there some kind of like a LOD or some kind of like thing like that you could put on stuff to kind of temporarily knock down the quality, like in a quick way, or stuff like that, for like high res stuff?
Isn't there like a? Is that the wrong thing? Am I looking at the wrong thing?
Yeah, polygon reduction. One's a little maple leaf.
So we could do like a polygon reduction on stuff, and then like remove it afterwards if we wanted to. So yeah, that's just like in there. I'm gonna see if I can try and get away with not having to worry. It's like it's not too bad. Like it's doing okay. Maybe we'll just like say goodbye to our little Kraken for now. Say goodbye to Karl for now, but he's there.
Bye, Karl.
Hey, Karl.
Thanks, Karl.
Okay, cool. So I want to do more of this coral, but I'm also aware that it's Q2, and I want to create more of a spookier looking vibe. And I think the best way of doing that, or let's just sort of get in here, is coming to this models, and there's a little hidden one, which is this thing here, and we've got our boat. So this is made up of loads and loads of different things, and I'm not going to use the entire thing, but I'm going to use the boat and I'm going to make it look like there's a bit of like a boat shipwreck. And then because I obviously have some issues, I'm going to put a bunch of skulls around it. So sorry to the people on the boat.
Our condolences. R.I.P. boat folks.
Yes, RIP to. They came for Karl and they lost. That's going to be the deal.
They wanted to talk to Karl about his car warranty.
They've been sold PPI. Right. What's going to be? Right, so whereabouts is this boat? Okay, cool. It's flying high in the air. Right, cool. Let me just go to quick shading on here just so I can position this a little bit better. And then we're going to go down. And where are we thinking? Let's put it somewhere like here. And get back into our camera. And get it on its side. Maybe something like that. It might be a bit too big, actually. Maybe make it a little bit smaller. Okay, let's maybe a bit more. So all of this is just like, it's just like personal preference and tweaking. It's nice being able to be like the artist side of me as much as the trainer side. It's nice to just kind of, you know, create something. Okay, cool. So we have maybe like, let's have it down a bit more. Well, maybe a bit in here. I want it to look like it's kind of engulfed with sand a bit as well. God, the tiniest little movements. Okay, cool. Here we go. Maybe something like that. Let's go with something like that. Yeah, because I want it to look like it's like got the sand inside of it, like it's been there for a while. And then we can come back to my, where's my Word document? This second, well, technically the first, My Mini Factory STL file, Jeffrey Marshall. It is a human skull. If I bring it over here, you guys can see that. And so I've already downloaded this again, and it's going to be the same as like the temple archway. It's going to come in as a STL file. And then we're just going to position a bunch of those everywhere.
Yes.
Go back. So yeah, hopefully this will slightly change the vibe a little bit, but I think it's the vibe that we want. And let me quickly save. Tempting fate there. Okay, cool. So we have our skull. And I'm just going to reposition my axis a little bit so it's like centered, just to help me reposition and rotate. Something I like to do. Kraken environment. Paste our, let me just change this to skull. Oh, apparently we got a ginormous person. Let me scale this right down. Right, we'll go smaller. So I'm going to kind of guess the scale. I mean, in some cases, a lot, like people do like to work to like real world scale. For the sake of spending an hour on this, I want you to do it quickly. I'm eyeballing everything. So I'm just going to kind of guess the size that the skull should be based on the size of the boat. So maybe, oops, wrong button. Maybe something like that. That could work. That could work. Cool. And now I'm just going to drop a load of these inside of here. Do a little bit of like rotation. Oh, look, our poor guys. They came for Karl. And they just did not win.
What happens? You go to Karl's house.
Exactly. I mean, have you seen Karl? Like,
Karl lifts.
Rowing boat.
Karl lifts.
So let's have a couple more of these guys.
Now, Elly, quick question.
Yeah.
Technical question. Oh, I'm sorry, Anna. Did you say something that interrupted?
Oh no, I was gonna ask a question too, but I'll ask after yours.
Okay. I was just gonna say, how come, like in my head, like my inner Elly, I would think that you would, being like MoGraph Wizard Pro, like you would use a cloner and probably some type of field randomness thing and probably physics to make the landscape a collider and then just scatter a bunch of skulls and have them just like plop down and fold over automatically So like, why are you doing like the Chad way of like manually copying over each little thing that's like super inefficient?
Oh,
Not super inefficient. That was judgy, but like,
yeah, no, that is a good question. So I think, if I was having a lot of kind of clones, so a lot of a particular thing, absolutely I would do it that way. But because I'm only going to be having like 3 of these skulls, it's less time for me to just copy them and position them and kind of like art direct where I want them to go, as opposed to having to then set up like a MoGraph setup to then limit them to just then this area, because I wouldn't want, because if you clone across the surface of the landscape, it's going to clone across the entire surface, which we have like, if I come out of the camera.
Gotcha. I thought you were doing, I didn't realize you were doing only 3 copies. So that makes a lot more sense.
Yes, we don't want an absolute massacre.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's what Chad was going for. Like he wanted an entire army.
I've only got one little rowing boat.
I mean, I was picturing, you know, there's like skulls from the boat, but then also scattered about are like the millions of dead from other excursions. But yeah,
that's a thing.
I retract my question. I understand if you're doing like 3 next to the boat, you know, I can understand. You're a very kind person, Elly. You only want to see 3 people that have lost their lives to Karl. I understand.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not that mean. No, but absolutely, yeah. If I were to have them everywhere or more, who knows? Maybe because after this session, I'm gonna want to do more to this, because you know we want it to be as nice as it can be for like the final compositing week. Yeah, maybe I'll throw in a few more boats and then throw in, because that absolutely would be the way to do it, 100%. Or the other way to do it, and kind of potentially a more optimized way, would be to do that same setup, but using the matrix, or if I change my renderer, I'd get the Redshift matrix. And so then we would do the same sort of setup with fields and with clones, but with matrices. And then I would set the Redshift object as the skull. And then it's not going to be adding polygons and geometry. It's just going to be doing it in the render. So maybe we'll do that next week, because that would be a good Redshift trick to show, because I'm already very aware that we've got like a lot of geometry, a lot of polygons. And so, yeah, in this case, yeah, I would matrix.
You could also save the carnage for week 4. And when it's week 4, I'll add a bunch of like bones and blood and horrible things.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry, Anna, for cutting in line for the questions.
Well, actually, my question was the same question, except I was going to word it in a different way. So it worked.
Dang, I should just let you go, because it's probably going to be like.
So I guess I could like really quickly show how we would do that. So let's do it as actual geometry. So we get our cloner, and we'd take like our skull, for example, and we drop it inside of our cloner. And then if I just pull this up, we have a whole bunch of clones. But if we want to clone them across the surface of our landscape, we just change our cloner to object, and then it's asking for an object here. And so in that case, that's going to be our plane. And now we can see we have a bunch of these kind of spread around, and we can have a higher count. So we could do 200. So poor 200 guys that Karl's killed. And it's thinking about it because there's, you know, quite a bit in our scene going on. And so we have more. But at the moment, if we kind of come in closer, they're all like orientated the same way. And so we can add a bit of variation by using our random field, not our random field, our random effector. And we don't want to be controlling our position. So our position is already being kind of defined by the cloner and the landscape, but we might want to adjust our rotation. So we could sort of change the rotation of them, and so it doesn't look like all the same skull being change around. And we could even scale them. So we could uniform scale them, maybe like 0.3. So we've got some people with like big heads, some people with little heads.
Is there a way to like manually choose where you want that to happen? Like kind of like paint in a mask?
Yeah, yeah, there is actually. I was gonna say I feel like I'm so lazy because I would just grab the scatter pen and scribble.
Oh yeah, that would have been a good, see, things that I don't think about. So yeah, so for what Anna's saying, yes, absolutely, we could like paint an area. So even like paint like a vertex map, and then you can drop that inside of the how would I do that actually? How would I do that? I could control the visibility with that vertex map. So then they'd only be visible in the area that I paint. So we could do that. But yeah, as Dustin was saying, we could get our scatter pen. So is it this one here? Is this a scatter pen or is this a scatter pen? Oh, that was dynamic, wasn't it? We'll see, look, it's struggling now. Dynamic place, scatter pen, here we go. As you can see, I don't often use this. And I've got my skull selected, or do I need to drop my skull into here? Do I need to drop that in there? Or should I just do it anyway? Yeah, it should just do it, cool. So yes, as we can see, my cinema is starting to slow down a little with everything that's going on. So yeah, we've got my scatter pen, this little button here, and I've got my skull selected. And then I could just draw these on here. And now I've scattered a whole trail of these. The only trouble I do find with these is like the size is all the same, and like the orientation is the same, which I don't think you can change. I don't think, unless you know, Dustin, if you can. I don't think you can. I think they all come as the same kind of clones, right?
Yes, it is possible. I'm having a brain fart at the moment. But yes, it is possible to slightly adjust it. Let me see. Maybe I should have had Cinema open before I brought that one up.
That's cool. I'm going to remove those for now because I'm not too fussed about having those in there. I just wanted to have like a couple.
Yeah, we could show that. We could show that later. But yes, there is a way I've been doing it.
Oh, cool. Yeah, you'll have to tell me because I've not used like the scatter tools too much in my everyday sort of workflow. Let me just add a couple of these. I'm very aware of the time as well. This isn't copying. There we go. That's what I wanted. Let's just add one more little one on here and see what this is looking like. Okay, so it's okay. I mean, I do want to add a bunch more of this like coral stuff. I think that's going to help. You know, it's going to sell it a bit more. Let's get my fossil coral.
Karl's coral.
Karl's coral.
That's great.
I'll stick this one. I want this like in like a foreground. A little bit.
I love the layering you're doing. I love the layering, like the coral right in the foreground. Then we kind of our eye moves through all the way to Karl.
All the way to Karl's little world.
We're making this like such a happy, sweet place with Karl's coral. It feels like by the time I get it, it's just going to be like Karl has an Etsy shop and he's like selling coral on the side. His little garden of coral.
He sews at home and makes his own jumpers.
Well, and then we see what happens to the customers that don't make a purchase.
Those are the people that left a bad review.
I feel like
Karl's coral Yelp. Karl's coral Yelp review.
What is that? Kelp reviews?
Oh my god.
Oh no. Oh no.
Grown worthy but fantastic at the same time.
Sorry, the dad jokes are here. I'll be here all day.
Fantastic.
Seeing if I can get a. I mean, I would spend a whole load more time trying to get a slightly better looking like shot. And I want to get some more stuff in the background, but I'm also aware that it is for me at the hour, 6 o'clock. Let me just save that. What else could we throw in? What can we quickly like throw in? This guy here. I think we need something over in that corner, don't we? Over in this corner. And then maybe go down. And go back. Something maybe like that. What do I want to do now? What are we thinking? Trying to think what else I could add that isn't just kind of like more of this same type of stuff. Maybe throw in a bit more.
Maybe some like really large background assets that I guess they won't be so visible because you're going to add that like blue effect, right? So like something that has really good silhouettes, just in the background.
Oh.
I think the that structure back there that you had.
This whole thing?
Yeah, you could use that and just scale that a couple times, instances and so on.
What I might
or just rotate them, in various positions.
That's interesting.
That is a great shout.
I was trying to do a Google search here to see if there was actually any like bulk help that you could like also use to kind of like just create some interest when rendering comes. It'd be a little bit easier to play with the depth, but I'm not sure if there's anything out there yet.
Right, so what do I want to do?
I wonder too if you'd want it to get it like big and then push it back, like make it bigger and then push it back further, so it feels kind of like, because when it's up close, it feels like kind of Little Mermaidy to me.
Is that not what we're going for? Little Mermaid / Dead People / Kraken / Karl
/ Etsy store
/ car insurance salesman. Bigger? What are we thinking? Little Mermaid?
Yeah, I think if it's like like if we put it back that far, then we can use color to kind of see more of like a silhouette of it, and then it won't feel like as Little Mermaid.
Yeah, so it's not going to be that visible. I'm also thinking like like fog and mist and everything. So do we think bigger? What do we think? I'm taking all your opinions.
I think that works good.
And then just like a few more of them. Yeah,
and then you could put a couple more in, and I don't know, maybe scale those if needed, or just rotating. You could also play with the depth and put them a little bit closer to camera, because you're right, the atmospheric perspective is really going to push those back anyway. So
yeah.
So maybe like,
this is the interesting part, before you get to lighting and materials, because it starts to look really cluttered. And then the moment you start to light it and you throw materials in, it just like automatically layers everything nicely. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I'm kind of trying not to be like too harsh on myself looking at this and being like, ugh. When you know that, lighting's just going to make it look, hopefully, a lot better.
Layout is like an area that like I'm just really fascinated by, because it makes such a difference. I love like creating a shape in the frame, like the old masters used to do, where like things are just kind of like positioned in just such a way that there's just like this really elegant shape to the whole piece.
Let me save this. So there is a lot going on, but I'm hoping, like you said, with a bit of like more environment stuff going on, I might add, do you want this like a bit here, maybe? Hang on, let me just do one more little Karl's not non-friends. Oh. Can you tell the concentration? Because I have gone silent. Right, that's going to be actually in. Yep, cool.
How? Slightly unrelated question, just because you're in a state of flow and I want to disrupt it. So how hard would it be to do like an emissive material on the Kraken, like glowing eyes and glowing details?
Yeah, no, that wouldn't be. That wouldn't be hard. That was what I was thinking. Yeah, like the like glowing like maybe red eyes, or maybe that might be a little bit
whatever color. Red is nice.
Yeah, that's what.
So do I just provide the alpha map then, and then you can just use that to make it glow?
Yeah, that would be cool.
Nice. Okay, I can do that.
Cool. Okay, let me just. So I'm aware that it's kind of like 7 minutes past, so I don't want to go like crazy too much over. Like we already have done. So let me. Oh my god, I'm gonna uncheck this subdivision surface. I'm terrified. Okay, that wasn't too bad. So yeah, we have this kind of like craziness going on right now, which I kind of like. Like I think it's okay. I think yeah, like there's a lot going on, but it's only because we can kind of like see everything like really, really clearly right now. But hopefully when we add some different elements to it, and I might rearrange some stuff slightly, and maybe do more of a like vertical output. So we'll only see, like for me, I was like, I don't know, like if we were doing like Instagram, for example, like let me, so I don't mess this up too much. Kind of like that, and then like pull this stuff in, maybe just an idea, yes. Okay, let's go back to that and then go back to that. Okay, so yeah, I think I'm happy-ish with where it is. I mean, total disclaimer to everyone, before next week, I am going to spend some more time on this and perfect it a bit more, because yeah, 45 minutes to an hour is not, I mean, it's enough time to do something like we kind of have here. But yeah, I think I want to maybe just adjust some of the composition a little bit, add some more coral elements, and make it look just a little bit nicer for next week. But everything here, everyone can use. So I don't know if did we say this, that the Kraken model is now on the project files area, the downloads area, and I think Simon has now added the Word document with all of the links for this stuff. The only thing that you guys won't have is the displacement map, because that's, yeah, I can't distribute that. But use a noise, or just Google displacement map, or make your own in Photoshop. That can always work. That can always be fun.
There's some in the asset browser too, right? There's some kind of like black and white maps.
I'd have thought so. Yeah, I thought so. But yeah, anything works.
Noises work really good with that. You just kind of pump up the actives a little bit, and awesome. Yeah. I'm excited.
This is
super cool to see this thing evolve.
So yeah, that was a lot of fun. Yeah, I know there wasn't like loads and loads of like Cinema 4D like technical information, but hopefully with like the volume builder stuff and the stuff about the landscape and the terrain, and just not being afraid to just find some great assets and put them together, because that's like half the thing. Like, just because they are already like models that everyone has, the way that you would comp it together and the way that you put it together and the changes that you'll make is what being an artist and being creative is all about. And so even like, so take these models, create your own version, and everyone's going to look different. And were we thinking of if people do this, we were thinking of a hashtag, weren't we? That like if people take this stuff and put it on Instagram, it'd really, or Twitter or whatever socials you guys use. We thought it'd be cool to keep an eye.
We should just do like hashtag KarlTheKraken.
KarlTheKraken, that's what I was gonna say too. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. With a K.
With a K.
Karl with a K.
With a K.
Karl with a K. Yeah. That.
And also tag us. Like, tag.
Yeah.
Does the training team have their own social media, or is it just Maxon VFX?
Yeah. So tag Maxon VFX. I mean, we're all on Instagram as well, so feel free to tag any of us. But yeah, Maxon VFX. And yeah, hashtag KarlTheKraken, and we'll keep an eye. Because it'll be really cool to see what everyone creates. And then yeah, next week, I'm gonna try and light and texture it inside of Redshift in an hour, which should be fun. And hopefully it will look a lot more like an underwater scene, because we'll be able to add some kind of, we're gonna do those like maybe some of those like light rays that you can see under the water, add that sort of like bluey haze, and we're gonna add some mist, and hopefully it's gonna look like spooky. Even though like we do love Karl, but as we can see, he doesn't love people. So what about that? But yeah, this has been a lot of fun. Sorry that we've like run over everyone a little bit. But
in my opinion, these are too short. We should go 3 hours.
I know, it's like really fun.
We do like 2-hour ones for the hands-on, and even then we run over. It's just fun. It's been fun being able to just like sit and create something and like hang with everyone and talk through tips, but also just be a bit of a creative artist. It was fun.
Very cool. Can't wait for next week.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yes. So Vincent was also saying, please share this scene for next week. Absolutely. Yeah, that is not a problem at all. I'll share this one right now. However, I will have to take the displacement map. So maybe I'll find like a cool equivalent and put it on there. And then, yeah, as I said, I'm going to make some changes, I think, for next week. And then we can share that as well, because why not? It'd be fun. Cool. Well, it's been a pleasure, everyone. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day and a lovely rest of your week. And we will see you next week for part 3, where we head into some Redshift stuff and hopefully make it look super cool.
You can't wait.
Hashtag KarlTheKraken.
KarlTheKraken.
Cool. Right. Well, it's nice to see you guys. And yeah, we'll catch you in the next one.
Sounds great. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.